we need to have this middle 70% of the country who has an attitude of live and let live, and they just kind of silent and let things roll along. I think we need to wake those folks up and say, hey, you know what? Whatever you believe, you need to start speaking out. You need to start saying what you really believe. I hear all of these folks saying, vote, just get out and vote. I think that's a bad piece of advice.
Really? Why?
Because you don't want to just vote. You want to make an informed vote.
Dr. Phil went on the Young Turks and absolutely destroyed Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur. We talked about that in the last video that I did on this for a different clip. This one is even more heated and even more destruction from Dr. Phil onto the Young Turks, onto Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur about multiple different things, about America being a merit-based society and a lot of other woke talking points that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur like to peddle. Let's get into this clip here of Dr. Phil going in on Cenk and Anna Kasparian.
Because I agree. Ideally, we have a merit-based system, right? But you also have to kind of take a step back and look at our cultural landscape and the kind of behavior that tends to get rewarded that infuriates me. And I think a prime example is actually someone who came on your show, that Cash Me Outside chick, right? That woman, she's a multi-millionaire now. Multi-millionaire, you know? And she was brought on your show by her mother because of her bad behavior. And her bad behavior became a national sensation. And then she went off to make a lot of money off of her whole persona and everything. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what can we do to change the culture so bad behavior doesn't get rewarded?
Well, you know, you read the book, and I wrote it down. It's one of the most fundamental principles. I put it in the book. Number 3, don't reward bad behavior or support conduct that you don't value. That's one of the most fundamental principles of psychology. You don't reward bad behavior, because the behavior you reward, you're going to see again and again and again. You withhold reward, or you introduce a negative to that person, they're going to stop doing that. You know, it's true with rats. You put a rat in a cage and they push a lever and get a food pellet. You know what? They're going to push that lever again. They push a lever and get shocked. They're going to, don't push that lever.
But we keep giving the pellets to the bad people. Like, that's my point, right?
That's the whole point. We do.
And it's in every facet of American life. It's not just in pop culture or entertainment. It's also in our political system. I think a lot of bad behavior gets rewarded in our political system as well.
Yeah.
To be fair to Anna Kasparian here as well, she has been calling out people who are given unfair power. She called out Cenk Uygur's nephew, Hassan Piker, a few episodes ago, and Cenk lost his mind on that episode. It was glorious to watch. Anna Kasparian called out Hassan, who was only given his spot in the spotlight on Twitch and given these viewership because he is Cenk Uygur's nephew. That's the only reason. And she called that out, and Cenk lost his mind. So to be fair, Anna Kasparian has called out these people before, but at the same time, it's normally the left that props these people up. It's normally the left that makes America not a merit-based society. If you look at what right-wingers want and what conservatives want, we don't want people getting participation trophies. We don't want DEI. We don't want, equity across the board. We want it to be a merit-based society. A lot of people, me personally, and a lot of people will agree with this, you should be paid based on the value that you provide, not how hard you work, not what skin color you are, not how many hours you work. It should be based on how much value do you provide to the marketplace? Whereas the left is saying, no, women should be paid more because they're women. No, black people should be paid more because they're black. And that's where the problems come in. That's where America becomes not a merit-based society. So Anna Kasparian can complain all she wants, but she participated in this. She is one of the reasons why America is the way it is today.
And that's what I'm saying is, when I'm saying we need to have this middle 70% of the country who has an attitude of live and let live, and they just kind of silent and let things roll along. I think we need to wake those folks up and say, hey, you know what? Whatever you believe, you need to start speaking out. You need to start saying what you really believe. I hear all of these folks saying, vote, just get out and vote. I think that's a bad piece of advice.
Really? Why?
Because you don't want to just vote. You want to make an informed vote.
Agreed with you on that. Yeah.
Don't just vote. Don't just say, oh, go get out there and go hit the lever. And I've been beating the drum that you need to be an informed voter, and you need to vote the ticket from the bottom up, not the top down. If you really understand how this works, your life is impacted by local offices as well.
Sure is.
If you're in the park and there's a dog that attacks the lady that lives down the street who's got her child in a stroller, you know what? You need to find out if that dog catcher, I guess they call them animal control now.
They do, yeah.
If that person is allowing dogs to be roaming around and attacking children, find out, was that a one-off, or is that person not doing their job? Is he or she not doing their job? And if they're not, then don't vote for them. If you've got judges who aren't enforcing the law fairly, equitably, and doing it in a way you value, then don't vote for that judge. If that DA's not doing their job, if you think they're being too heavy-handed, then don't vote for them. If you think they're not enforcing the law enough, then don't vote. Find out who in your world is behaving a way that you hold near and dear to your heart, and vote and do that.
You know who normally says to go out and vote? Like the side that normally says you guys should just go out and vote? It's the left. Every single time I hear a celebrity or an athlete, someone say, just go vote. That's my stance on it. They'll say stuff like that as a cop-out. We all know that they mean go vote left wing. Dr. Phil is saying that people should be informed on the votes, and they should make an informed vote and not just go vote as a drone. But guess what, dude? If people actually were informed voters, they would never vote left. So the left does not want you to be an informed voter, because if you were an informed voter, you wouldn't vote Democrat ever. Because, it's very obvious. The only thing that the Democrats run on is, hey guys, I'm not Donald Trump, vote for me. That's it. So if you were an informed voter, you wouldn't vote Democrat. So they don't want you to be. Anna Kasparian, Cenk, Uygur, Bill Maher. I'll leave Anna Kasparian out of it. But these people, the left wingers, the woke YouTubers out there, the woke celebrities, they don't want you to be an informed voter. So Dr. Phil is correct, but they don't want you to be what Dr. Phil is saying. They want you to be a drone who's just going vote for the left. And if they say go vote, everybody knows what they mean.
From the bottom up, that's where your life is impacted.
I mean, I honestly didn't really, that message didn't really resonate with me until about 2 years ago. Yeah. Because local politics has changed so much where we live. So you're right about that.
Well, Obama said that really well. Well, I saw him talk about it one time, and he said it better than I did, but he really talked to people about making informed votes and voting from the bottom of the ticket up. I thought he made a good point.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but you said politics you're not that into, you care more about culture, but Dr. Phil, politics is the culture in a lot of ways, and the culture is the politics, right? So I wish we didn't have the culture wars that we have, but we do. And now oftentimes they're used to distract us. So while the politicians then serve their donors, et cetera. But so, for example, you said government is too big, but too big how, right? So for example, is the government too big when it says you can't get an abortion? Because that's the government getting between a woman and her doctor and saying, I'm gonna make the most personal decision of your lifetime for you. Big government's gonna do that. The people who say that they're for small government support that decision, and that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't, but I say it this way. I've dealt for 20 plus years.
By the way, what Cenk just said is a lie. Big government is not getting in the way of women getting abortions. Big government is, the only decision that they have made is that they are not going to get in the way of women getting abortions. Like that's the only thing that they have, that's the only decision that they have made. All they did was say it's up to the states. That's it. So this narrative, these lies, dude, I mean, that's just such a blatant lie that Cenk just told. Big government is not getting in the way of that. It's only the states. It's only the small governments. I don't understand. That's just a blatant lie that was told.
Years on the air and 45 years in my professional career with people that oftentimes make, I think, a huge mistake of inviting the government into their lives. Like I have people come on and they got a marital situation that's falling apart. They have children. They have a custody dispute, and one or both of them say, "Well, we'll just go to court and let them decide." And I go, "Oh no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to invite the government into your private life if you can keep from it. You need to go sit down and try to resolve this. Get a private mediator if you have to." But that judge up there, he or she is not King Solomon, and they're just human beings. And in particular, they're not trained in this particular area. So when I say government's too big, we are to blame. We invite government into our lives too much. You'll have a judge up there, and maybe he or she has a son or daughter that went through a divorce and got burned in a custody situation. Maybe the week before, they've got a chip on their shoulder, and here you are in a similar situation, and they take it out on you. You have no idea what you're getting into in a situation like that. When I say government's too big, I'm talking about that kind of thing. We have so many people in government that are not elected and can't be unelected that are dictating the outcome in our lives because they're bureaucrats that are appointed into positions passing regulations that are affecting our lives, whether it's in the IRS or whether it has to do with state regulations concerning what we're able to do with, whether it's how we take out our trash or what we do in our schools. These aren't people that we elected.
The Federal Reserve. We didn't elect
Exactly, the
chair of
Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
These are people that were appointed, and it's real hard to fire them. So we've got people that we didn't choose that are dictating so much of what happens in our lives.
But we do need rules. So for example, you got you mentioned the IRS. If you don't have enough rules at the IRS, well, the rich are going to cheat on their taxes, and they do, right? So then, for example, Biden in the beginning brought in a lot more IRS agents because the rich were, it's not anti-rich, right? You want to be rich, fantastic, I love it, I want to be rich, right? But it's when you got people cheating on their taxes and it's costing us.
It is anti-rich. And also, rich people that cheat on their taxes, y'all are based, okay? When I get rich, I'm cheating on my tax. Never mind, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. But yeah, I mean, taxation is theft anyway. We're just sending the money to nonsense issues. We're sending the money to other countries for bloodshed to be, for blood to be shed in wars that we should have nothing to do with. We're using the money to, hire more trans women as generals in the military instead of fixing the border and the crime issue and the old tired talking points that you heard over and over again that they still are doing nothing to solve. But let me know in the comments what you thought about Dr. Phil going here on the Young Turks and talking about the issues, the fact that we're not a merit-based society and why the left wing is a huge cause of that, if not the sole cause of the fact that we're not a merit-based society. Let me know in the comments what you think about Dr. Phil's appearance here on the Young Turks.